this podcast is mainly for the youngsters out there who are going through mental health. People don't really talk about mental health, but I think it's a very big issue.
I think because it's something like the wind, you cannot see but you feel it.
Exactly.
If you're standing in the wind. But if it hits you hard.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of youngsters are going through breakups and they're not sure what to do and how to go with it. How do you know when to let go?
No, you cannot give to other people if you do not have something to give. If you're giving a part of yourself to the other person and if your vessel is empty, what is it that you're offering to the other person? That is the one word that we use, that the purpose of relationship is love. That हम लोगों में प्यार बहुत ज़्यादा है. But is love enough to sustain a lifetime? I don't think so. Because love is not just being attracted to the other person, be it physical, be it emotional or be it mental. It's a very, very long life. And it's okay to make some mistakes. And it's also okay if they come and bite you back. And anything related to mental health does not make you weak.
What is the suggestion to the youth out there that you want to give so that they can live a better life?
One thing is that you should never...
So first of all, thank you so much for coming for the podcast. I'm pretty sure with the experience that you bring in, a lot of people out there will be motivated. And it's a very important podcast for me. I'm really excited for this because I think I have been through the journey and I have personal questions. I'm pretty sure that this might be a stretched podcast. I really didn't want it to be that stretch, but I hope I can take all the questions in that time that we have. So first of all, Dr.Nishtha Gupta, MBBS MD in psychiatry. So it sounds really impressive and really, it sounds really impressive. So what exactly is it like? What was your motivation to get into this path?
So the motivation to become a doctor was probably always because my dad is a doctor and my brother chose that path. So the motivation to do that was just because life took me to that path. But while I was doing my MBBS, I realized that I personally dealt with a lot of mental health issues and living in this city and probably back in that time, the access to mental health was not, the resources were not that much around me. I was, I think, blessed that I could talk to my parents about it, who understood mental health. And that is when my mother brought me into spirituality and into other sciences. Like I started practicing Reiki. She taught me how to meditate. They gave me a lot of books to read. They were the ones who took me to therapy at that point of time. So I think I am grateful to them. And honestly, it was my father and my brother's decision when I was supposed to sit for the NEET entrance. Because at that point, I only wanted a specialization. But when I was sitting down with them, they told me that you would be really good at that. So that is how I think life chose its path for me. And that is how I chose psychiatry.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that is what happens with people who want to do something different in life. I think the main purpose of opening this channel was this only because I have been through the mental health issues. And when I got healed from that thing, I realized that it is something that everyone should know. Because people don't really talk about mental health, but I think it's a very big issue out there.
Absolutely. And I think because it's something like the wind, you cannot see but you feel it.
Exactly.
If you're standing in the wind. But if it hits you hard. And if there's a plaster on your arm, everybody comes and asks you, how are you feeling? But nobody tells you that, probably your bones are weak. Or, something is wrong with your body. You had a fall and you broke the bone. But if something is wrong with your mind, still, I think I deal with that stigma every single day. It becomes difficult and somehow it becomes a burden and your fault. So if I go out and tell it to people that, probably I dealt with depression, somebody out there might still think that probably this woman was weak.
Yeah.
So that is a constant battle, right?
That's true. I think that is what usually happens because my next question was to you is that how does a session looks like? Because, when I've been through all these things, so I was really confused, first of all, where to start off with. What I usually did was that, what people do is that they go on Google, they search that psychiatrist
near me. Yeah.
The way we do for the pizzas and all those things, but I'm sure that is not how it works first thing. So first question, like there are two questions related. The first question is how do we go with it? Like where do we go and find when we need help? And second thing is that we know that I think a person knows that he or she needs help.
Right.
Definitely. So it becomes very difficult for an individual to talk to their family or their friends at a certain point. So, and when you talk to them, as you said, it comes across as that you are weak.
Yeah.
So that taboo is still there, that mental health or depression, what is it? And probably, as you said, it's like a wind but you don't see it. I was with the same mindset that depression is nothing, it's just a mindset. But when I got hit with it, I was like, it's real, it is real. So how should people go with it?
So I think one of the easiest ways is to Google psychiatrist near me and you would genuinely find psychiatrists near you. But in today's date, there are a lot of people, I think when we go online, we see a lot of people going out there and representing themselves as mental health professionals. We have a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists online. So if you feel that one thing is that you connect with the information that they are giving out, that is one source for people on social media. But there's a basic difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist and how you go about when you want to talk about your mental health. The first thing is to basically visit and find out what is wrong with you. Because if something comes to your mind that, I might need help, this thought in itself is the signal enough that you need
help.
that you need help.
Yeah.
And it is completely okay to walk into an OPD and just ask if you need help from a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Because it is not that if you enter my cabin, I wouldn't say yes, you need help to everybody. It might just be a bad phase, right? Sadness is not always depression.
Yeah.
Right? And happiness is not always mania.
Yeah.
So you might not need help, but to have basically a diagnosis and what help you need, you step into the cabin of a psychiatrist near you, and then they form a plan with you. And if you need therapy, if the psychiatrist practices therapy themselves, they will let you know. And if they do not, they would refer you to a psychologist or a therapist, licensed therapist for that exact purpose. So that is how a usual process or path of mental health looks like.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what I've seen with mental health is, and especially talking to people who are going through mental health, for me, like, I have not seen it much. I'm pretty sure you know better. But the main reason for going through mental health at this point of time, I've seen two reasons. Number one is that they want to be successful in their life and they want to be successful now. So the patience is not there.
Right.
And the second thing is that breakups. I think I'm pretty sure that a lot of youngsters are going through breakups and they're not sure what to do and how to go with it. So first thing is that how do you know when to let go? Like, you are in a relationship, you know that it's not going the way you want. But what society teaches you and what the friends around you teaches you, that you should put efforts, you should give, you should not be a taker, you should be a giver. But that at some point it just spoils everything. So my question is that when do you know that this is it? You should let it go.
So it's a very beautiful question. I wish more people ask this question. But when exactly do you let this go is, when you feel that you are drained. You cannot give to other people if you do not have something to give. Even when we talk of charity, anybody, if I want to host food for a few people, I need to have the resources. Even if I don't have the resources, I need to have the resources to arrange the resources.
Yeah.
So if you're giving a part of yourself to the other person, and if your vessel is empty, what is it that you're offering to the other person? The purpose of a relationship is love. Right?
Yeah.
That is the one word that we use, that the purpose of relationship is love, that हम लोगों में प्यार बहुत ज़्यादा है. How do I let go of this love?
Yeah.
But is love enough to sustain a lifetime? I don't think so.
Same.
Because love it's like a tree and it has so many branches, because love is not just being attracted to the other person, be it physical, be it emotional, or be it mental. If there is only mental love and there is no emotional connect between the two people, you would give that up in the relationship and like that. But we need to realize that if the relationship has taken too much of us and you need to find yourself, and you're questioning, who am I? I was a bit different person before the relationship, and the person that I am now, I do not like this version of me. I do not like this version of me when I am with the other person. Recognizing the changes and recognizing that you are an empty vessel, I think that is the highest point where you need to let go for both the partners in the relationship. And I'm not just talking of a romantic relationship, a relationship in general as well. For the betterment of yourself and the other person in the relationship, I think that is the point where you just need to let go.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So what have you seen the number one reason for the breakups going on these days?
So I think different ages, different reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. I think...
If we talk about youngsters.
Yeah, if we talk about youngsters, again, the lack of patience. You know, at one point that we talk about the extreme where you do not want to give up. On the other point, we talk of an extreme where they just want to give up at, the click of something, and they just want to give up, right? If something went wrong, they want to give up. If they haven't had a reply back to a text, they want to give up. If the text was read a little late, they want to give up. Itne sab red flags nahi hote in a relationship. There's no green, red, beige flag in a relationship as such. It is a compatibility that you build together.
Yeah.
Some people are looking for a relationship with no fights, which is, I think, I fight with my mother. I still love her. I don't think there is any relationship which hasn't had a fight in it. So why would you expect complete understanding and complete giving in a relationship right in the beginning of it? So I think not wanting to put in that effort to work towards the relationship, towards yourself. And second and most important is not dissolving your ego in the relationship. You know, I'm not always right. And if I'm wrong, it really doesn't matter if I say sorry in the relationship. I wouldn't say you always have to say sorry even when you're not right. You're understanding the other aspect, that you don't also get abused in the relationship. But there has to be a certain level of dissolution of egos in the relationship. And it's not two people in the relationship, it's one unit.
Yes.
That is the relationship. So I think that is, according to me, what I see in youngsters, main hi sahi hoon, is what leads to the end of the relationships.
I read it beautifully somewhere that relationship is not 50-50%. It's basically 100% from both the sides. Yeah. That is when you come together and you get along. So that is what, it was a beautiful thing that just hit, and it is still there in my head that it's just 100% from both the ends.
Absolutely.
So my next question to you is that what actually are the red flags in a relationship? Are there any red flags?
See, so when we talk of relationships, if you're stepping in a relationship with somebody who has not dealt with their own flaws, when we talk of mental health, if the other person hasn't dealt with their own flaws or something that needs to be corrected, they would be a red flag for anybody. And not just a romantic relationship. I believe we are talking of a romantic relationship here, so I would talk about that. But the red flags would be, demanding complete surrender from the other person, wanting to change every single thing in the other person, something that I think the new generation needs to know, gaslighting. I have done something wrong, but it is because of you. And if you're constantly feeling that you are the one to be blamed in the relationship, and if you constantly feel that your self-esteem is being drained in the relationship, I don't think you need a bigger red flag than that in a relationship.
True.
Yeah.
That's so nice, because while you're speaking all these things, I can just relate to it so much, because I've been through all this, and then obviously when the other person is speaking, you relate to it. There's one very famous term in the market which is called being narcissist.
Yeah.
So what is it being, what are the traits of being narcissist?
I love how you said in the market. It is. I think the understanding of personalities has increased a lot, especially after COVID, when mental health has become, suddenly people are realizing the importance of mental health. So narcissist is basically, when we talk of different personalities, we talk of narcissistic personality. So narcissists are basically people with a few personality traits which are looked down upon by the society, because when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, again, every red flag that I was talking about, all of that comes into play. So a few things that they do is denial. Denial is basically I close my eyes to all of my faults. So I am not agreeing to anything that I did wrong in whatever field or relationship in life. The second is that ego is extremely high because I haven't done anything wrong. So whatever I am saying has to be accepted. Third is gaslighting, as I told you. It's like a matchstick. So if there are 100 matchsticks on the table and you light a matchstick and you throw it on the table is going to burn. That's gaslighting. Your mistake was probably just like a match, but the table burnt down. So, and if the other person committed the mistake of the table burning down, it is going to be regressed to just a match light. And somehow the fault is going to come down to you, right? So that, then again, blaming the other person for a lot of things that they didn't do wrong, making the other person feel insecure in the relationship. I think anybody who has ever suffered from a dependent relationship with a narcissist would feel that they felt extremely insecure in the relationship, and somehow they were made to feel that it was their fault. There is also sadly a lot of cheating involved in narcissistic relationships, and somehow the bearer, the victim, is the one to be blamed in the relationship. So all of this, I think, encapsulate what being in a relationship with a narcissist is.
That's so nice. And as you said that being with narcissist, sometimes you don't realize that you are being with narcissist, or the other person don't realize that they are narcissist. So as we were talking before that, I was in a relationship as well, and I later figured out that I might be with someone who has a narcissist quality, character, I can say.
Right.
But what happens is that after the relationship ends, it's very difficult for you to accept. Firstly, it's ended because you've seen extreme ends in the relationship. Like I have seen extreme ends in my relationships, because at one point it's very nice and next day it can go completely opposite. So it's like a poles apart, and you never know when it can go wrong. You never know. So I think that walking on the sword it's like walking on a sword, that you never know when you're gonna fall and die.
Right.
So how do you, as I asked you, how do you, it's an early alarm, how do you see that, okay, this person has a narcissist behavior and this is where I need to be more cautious? Because if now I know the term narcissist, I know what the qualities are and I know how the person behaves. Even if the person is not narcissist, I probably will see them as a narcissist.
Yeah.
So is it that I am narcissist, or is it that my thinking is true?
So, when, as you said, that it's like walking on the sword, being in a relationship with somebody who hasn't dealt with the narcissistic traits is like, it's the best and the worst relationship of your life. Because on the days which are sunny, it is so beautiful. Nobody can love you more than they can. Because we'll understand what the basis is, that a narcissist in itself is an empty shell. So they have a very, very hollow and very, very low self-esteem. So if I do not have food and I do not know how to make food, I go to other people and I borrow their food. I steal their food. So if I don't have my own self-esteem, my self-esteem is very, very low, and it's not my fault. Right? It is just something that I was born with. It might be something that I saw in the family, whatever has happened in my past. Those are things that I haven't dealt with and developed a narcissistic personality. So the low self-esteem dwells on other people's self-esteem. So the reason you're being insecure, the reason you are being denied or sucked out of your self-esteem is because you're feeding on that. So when I said that it's the most beautiful and the ugliest relationship of your entire lifetime, it is, there's a term that it is called as love bombing. So it is like a bomb that they have which is filled with love, and they will just throw it at you. In that moment, you're covered in flowers and sunshine and a lot of love. They would go to levels that you would never be able to go to in a relationship. And then on the other day, right the next morning, probably a small matchstick mistake that you made, they would abandon you. So that love bombing followed by a day of abandonment feels, it sucks life out of you.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So when you're hollow on the inside, and then they come back on the third day and bomb you with another love bomb.
And then you realize that it's so good.
This is the best relationship today,
Yeah.
and it was the worst yesterday.
Yeah.
So you're crying yourself to sleep one night, and you're the happiest person the next day, and then you're crying yourself to sleep again the third night. So this up and down trajectory of a relationship, it's not a stable relationship. And again, your question was that, how do I know that I'm in a relationship with a narcissist? That this trajectory, it's okay for the relationship to, have a little bit of turbulence. It's okay to have ups and downs, but love bombing and blaming and gaslighting, all of these things, I think what more shaking do you need? That,
That's true.
both of you need help.
Yeah, that's true. And as we were talking before that, you said that people get insecure.
Yeah.
So I've been in a relationship where I was insecure. And I've never been an insecure guy in my life. Like whoever I've been with, I've never been insecure. And I think at that point, I was insecure because I was made insecure. Like it was some traits that I saw, and because of those traits, I felt that something is not right. And when you feel something is not right, then you do certain things like checking their location, checking their WhatsApp messages, checking their emails. That is what you do. But when the breakup happens, is like the girl, when they go to the next person, they say that the last relationship ended because the guy was insecure and he did all these things.
Yeah.
And the guy says that the girl was not doing the right thing, and that's why I was insecure and doing all these things. And especially, I've been into this situation. So I know that a person might not be insecure, but he's just doing it because he's feeling all those emotions.
Right.
So what exactly happens on the back end of all these things?
So again, now we're talking of two very different personalities over here. One is who has such a low self-esteem and complete denial of their faults. So until and unless they step into therapy, they work on themselves. Because again, when we're talking of such a personality, even when we're talking of a narcissistic personality, if now you step out and look at it from a third person perspective, how sad it is that you have to feed on other people's self-esteem because you just are unable to build your own. And you have to cling on to the other person. And the love bombing, when you see it from my eyes, is also because they need that love to feed themselves. If they don't love that much, they are in constant fear that the other person is going to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
And whatever you give in a relationship, you shed that energy in the relationship. And because of all of these things, on the other side, when we are talking of the insecure partner on the other side, constantly checking phones and location and everything, which is very out of character for most of the people.
Yeah.
Like just as you just said, that it is out of character for you. You haven't done that before, and you wouldn't do that in future because that is unlike you, and that gives you a sense of guilt. But constantly in that relationship, your gut is also telling you that something is going wrong. Something is going wrong.
Yeah.
So you're doing nothing but just acting on your gut, because when you address the other person and the other person just straight out lies to you, what do? You act on your gut.
Yeah.
So you need to find that clue, to step out of the relationship or of that situation.
But as I said before, you're not able to get out of that thing because the term that you mentioned, I love that term, love bombing.
Yeah.
You want to get out of it so bad. Your gut is saying that this is not right.
Yeah.
Go look for something else or go get out of this thing. But as soon as you are about to take that decision,
you're bombed with love.
Yeah. And then you feel like, my God, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. So I'm just confused to how to put it in words because I've been through this and I don't know how to get out of it. Like at some point, my heart, my gut, everything was screaming to get out of it. And I think that is what depression and anxiety and all those things look like, that your heart and everything is shouting.
Yeah.
And you are just not able to quit, you are not able to give up on something.
There's no mind-body sync left.
Yeah.
So, when we talk of getting out of a relationship with a narcissist, I have personally seen a lot of people who probably were in a relationship 7-8 years back and they still have not healed from it. They are unable to hold on to a healthy relationship because of the traumas of the past relationship. When we talk of traumas, they're not just abuse during childhood or something like that. Anything in life can be.
Yeah.
An injury to a limb can lead to a limp, right? So it's the same thing with your mind. When you're manipulated to such an extent, there's just something that just breaks. And there are some things that you're unable to do in the future. So I have seen so many people, I personally know so many people who are still dealing with it and are unable to step into it. And surprisingly, you would be surprised to know that we have a separate form of therapy for people who have come out of a relationship with narcissistic people. The training of therapists is completely different. How to get them out. There are books written on survivors of narcissistic relationship, because when I'm saying survivor of a relationship, are you getting the extent of harm that can happen to the mind? So if you ask me, it is best to not step into one.
Yeah.
Prevention is the best cure in this.
Yeah.
Because if you are in one, it is going to be difficult to step out. Once you do know that, I need to step out, it is best if you call out for your support system. Something that wouldn't let you go back into the relationship when you're bombed with love. Somebody who would remind you, not in a negative way, but people who would help you out of the relationship. When we talk of the social support system around us, building a healthier support system and depending and relying on them to get out of this relationship, and also letting the other person know that this is the exact reason why I'm stepping out.
Yeah.
So that helps.
And I think it's very important to heal, because what I've seen with myself is that after I got out of the narcissist relationship, when I started talking to other people, it was very normal. And when it's normal, you feel like something is wrong, because you don't get that, angry text messages, or you've read this thing, you've not replied, you've left me on scene, no good morning messages, what's happening, this and that. And then you feel like, was this normal? Was the thing that happened, was that normal, or is this normal? And if you're not healed, probably the phase that you are in right now, you mess that thing up because you've not healed from the last relationship and you bleed on the next relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is what was going through, like I was going through that as well. The next thing that I wanted to ask is that what exactly is that anxiety looks like? Because I'm pretty sure you can't actually look at anxiety, but like when I was in this phase, I could feel the depression and anxiety because I didn't want to get out of my bed. And I was like, I'm okay even if I get fired from my job. I was not able to get out of my bed. I was just lying in my bed for days and days, not going outside, not talking to my mom, dad, not talking to my brother. And then one day I realized that something is drastically wrong with me.
Yeah.
So what are the common factors, or what is that anxiety looks like, and what are the common factors with the people who comes to you with anxiety and depression?
So surprisingly, anxiety is something that we can still see. It is one of the rare things in mental health that we can see, because when we talk of anxiety, it has two different existence. It has existence in two different platforms. One is the mind and the other is the body. So whenever we step into an interview, before an interview or before an exam, we feel our heart thumping, and there's a little sweat on the forehead, right? There's a little sweat on the nose, and when you take out your hands, they shiver a little. So that is the physical form of anxiety that we can see. There's a lot of fatigue in the body. If I am able to take a walk of 6 kilometers on a regular day, I would not be able to do that. Or on the other hand, if I'm handling my home, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like you just said, you were able to work, but with anxiety, you were not able to get out of the bed. So these are the physical aspects of anxiety that we can still see. The rest, I believe, we see so many things because there's so much hollowness in the brain. So there's always anticipation of something that is going to go wrong. There's a feeling of doom, that everything is going to end, everything is going to go wrong. Everything is associated with a negative thought. Everything is worrisome. And imagine even when I'm just saying it, it is something that kind of dampens the energy of the room.
Yeah.
Imagine going through that every day in your mind, and you wake up without an alarm, you're unable to go off to sleep, the quality of sleep is disrupted, your appetite is either too much or too little, the basic body functioning is hampered, and the most common symptoms of anxiety are gut issues.
Yeah,
which
I've
is
gone through it.
Yeah, which is very seldom addressed because there's a mind-body axis. We say the gut has its own basically neurons, and which we call brain. So there's a gut-brain axis. Whenever we hear, something, some news which is too exciting or too sad, many a times we immediately need to rush to the washroom.
Yeah.
That happens with a lot of people. Right before an exam, a lot of people, the washrooms are always busy before the exam.
Yeah.
Because the body reacts, right? There are pain receptors in the leg, there are pain receptors in my tummy, there are pain receptors in my arm. But when I ask somebody, or when you ask somebody, do you have pain receptors in your brain? The answer is no. So how will the brain tell you if it's not at ease? The brain controls your body. So it is going to tell you via the body that I'm not at ease. So whenever you're getting all of that, it is time to address it, I think.
True.
Yeah.
Since you are working with mind and all those things, just a random question. I think it's just out of the blue and out of the conversation that we are having. Do you think manifestation is true? It's just out of the conversation. Like,
yeah, absolutely 100%. I believe in manifestation, right? I haven't read the science too deeply to know that, but I firmly practice manifestation. I've seen my mother, she says her entire life has gone by on manifestation, and I do not think that the universe knows how to say no. Whatever you manifest, whatever you think, you tell the universe that aaj mera din acha hona chahiye. The universe says yes.
The affirmations that you use.
Yes. Now when you wake up in the morning and you wake up 5 minutes late, your alarm goes off and you snooze and you wake up 5 minutes late. You wake up with the energy, oh no, aaj to main kaam pe late. Why is it on that day that all of the traffic signals are red?
Yeah.
You've manifested that. The universe, you said, aaj main kaam pe late. Universe said yes.
Yeah.
Aaj to mujhe dant padegi. The boss is not there on any other day, but the boss is going to be there on that day. The universe will say yes. आज तो मेरी पक्का लड़ाई होनी है. आज मैंने फोटो डाली, मुझे नजर लगनी है. The next day, नजर लगे नहीं लगे, you will fall ill because you've manifested that.
True.
So I believe, and I am I firmly practice visualization, mindfulness, and it's science. It is science. So do you believe in manifestation?
I do, especially like. So if you practice spirituality, I think manifestation is something that you don't think about. You just leave everything on God. And I think the first step of being spiritual is surrender.
Exactly.
If you are not surrendered, then nothing is going to be there, because until you don't believe that someone is there who's helping you out constantly, then there's no point. And if you know that there's someone who's helping you out constantly and he'll do the best, then what's to worry about? So then you're like, whatever happens, it will happen. I just need to enjoy my life. And this very good practice that I've been doing from last 1 year. As soon as I wake up and I think this is going to be the last day of my life. So that has been a very beautiful practice in my life, because whatever comes in my life after that point, the instant reaction to is that, what if I die today? This might not be that important.
Yeah.
If I have business loss, if I have money loss, if I have some relationship loss, obviously it might affect you, but not to an extent that, it's going to be, heavy on your, it's not going to...
Your life doesn't depend on
that. Your life doesn't depend. So that's a very beautiful practice, and I think it's okay. As you said that you getting late to office, I think it's okay to be late, because I was reading a beautiful story of 9/11. So what happened was that everyone who got saved in that 9/11 tragedy, the people were someone whose coffee was late, someone who was stuck in the red light, someone whose sister was not well, someone's baby was not well. The baby was crying and he wanted him to go to, and there was one specific person. I think there was something with that story that he go to that coffee shop every day, and he took the coffee and it got spilled on his shirt, And he got so angry because he basically, if you lose that amount of time that you have to reach in the office, then you lost. There's a very big loss related to money at that point of time. So he was very angry. But when the incident happened, after that incident, when he retrospected that thing, he was so happy that this thing happened. And I think everything happened for a reason.
Absolutely.
So I think you need to believe that if you are late, it's okay to be late. If you are angry, it's okay to be angry, but at least acknowledge. Yeah, next question.
Yeah.
People don't acknowledge. I think the main reason people are in trauma, I think we should talk about trauma as well. But after a breakup, people are in trauma because people don't acknowledge that they are going through depression.
Yeah.
And most people, I've talked to my friends and they're like, the way of their dealing is to ignore it completely. Ignore the emotions, just work.
Yeah.
And focus on something else and don't focus on the emotions. But I don't think so it works like that, because I think you can only heal through something if you acknowledge the emotions that you are facing.
Right.
So what is your take on that?
So yes, a lot of people from I think our generation and the younger generation, they work or they absorb themselves in something else to just kind of put a blind eye on whatever has happened and not acknowledge that. But depression is very much real, right? It's basically the happy hormones in the body. When we talk of serotonin, when we talk of dopamine, these are two hormones. The level of those hormones in the body fluctuates. It's a biopsychosocial illness when we talk of it. It's not like pancreatitis, right? That's a biological problem. It's not like carcinoma. Now, to be said, that is also a lifestyle disorder. But when we're talking of depression, it's a biopsychosocial illness. So the biology is the hormones. The psychological aspect is what happened in the relationship, probably when we are talking after a breakup, and the social aspect is the people around you. So when we are talking of healing from that, see, I'm a psychiatrist. I practice allopathy and I believe in medication because I see that it heals on an everyday basis. But I also practice holistic science. I practice holistic mental health. I believe equally in hypnotherapy. I believe equally in therapy itself. So what happens is when we turn a blind eye to whatever has happened in the past, basically it's like storing something. There's a room in every house जहाँ पे सारा पुराना सामान we store.
Yeah.
Just because we don't visit the room doesn't mean that the room is not dirty.
Yeah. True.
And imagine carrying all of that baggage and then you move on to the second relationship, because after a certain period of time, once you have ignored that all of that ever happened, you find somebody else and you step into the relationship and suddenly you have to open that door and everything comes rushing back and it's spilled onto it's again bleeding onto the next relationship. How is that fair to the other person as well? And how is that fair to yourself? So it's best to keep your entire house and mind clean, right? So that when you need space, you have.
Yeah. And what exactly is trauma? Because I got to know that this term trauma after I was in that phase, and I figured out that trauma is real. That you are actually in that zone that you're not able to figure out what's happening with you, and a breakup seems like a death of a person who's gone away from your life permanently. And that emotions and that feeling that you get is so real that you feel that it's probably the end of your life. So how does that trauma term is considered in this, like in today's world?
So, when you talk of a breakup, and it's basically loss.
Yeah.
So when you lose somebody, you grieve. And a lot of people who come to me, a lot of patients of mine say that, I just want to forget that person. And the first question that comes to my mind is, why would you want to forget somebody you were in a relationship with? You chose to spill the deepest secrets of yours in front of that person. You shared your mind, body, soul with that person, and suddenly you just want to forget that. How in the world is that possible?
Not possible.
So I believe that whenever you are in a relationship, you exchange a part of you with the other person. And when you end that relationship, as soon as you're stepping into the relationship, it's a silent contract that they are allowed to take that part with them, and you are allowed to take that part with you, and that is how you grow. That is how you grow in every relationship. I don't believe all friendships last. I am not in contact with a lot of people in from my childhood, but probably a part of them, all, when we go through Instagram feed and suddenly we see somebody long back from the past, like a childhood friend, and that just excites you.
Yeah.
That I know him or I know her, and it brings back a memory. It's a part of them that you're carrying. And even in the relationship, I think healing from a relationship, grieving is extremely important. The 5 steps of grieving, when we talk of a loss of a human body, of a human soul, when a pet, any life basically. So even when we are talking of the end of a relationship, those 5 phases of grieving are extremely important for you to grieve for that loss, not forget the person completely, learn what you learned from the relationship, and take a part of that person with you. It's going to be with you forever. Why do you want to wish bad for the other person?
I think when you're in that phase, you want to wish bad for that person because
In
the
that
amount,
phase, yes.
because the amount of pain you've gone through in that process.
ये उसको तो पता लगे.
हाँ कि मतलब कुछ तो मैं करूँ कि उसको कुछ हो. Like she realized that she might have lost something really good.
So it's not about harm to the other person. It's about the realization of the harm that has been caused to me.
Yeah.
I underwent that pain, and the other person does not even have an understanding of the amount of agony that I am in. So it's not really harm that you're wishing for the other person, but an understanding of the agony that you are in.
Yeah.
And now when I ask you in the long run, years down the line, do you want harm to come to that person?
No.
See?
And I think that is the point when you realize that you are healed.
Yeah.
That you don't really feel. And I think in the beginning I was like, I will never be able to see that person. But now I'm in that zone that I really don't care. Even if she comes in front of me and then we happen to be at the same place at the same time, it might affect me a little.
Right.
But I'm okay with that. I'm at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So my next question to you is that when I was going through this, I realized that I'm going through panic attacks.
Yeah.
And when I was researching about you, I saw a couple of videos on YouTube, you talking about panic attacks.
Yeah.
So I was not sure that if it is a panic attack or what is it. I was just outside, and then I felt that I'm sweating a lot and I was feeling very anxious and I was not able to breathe. So I rolled down the windows of my car, but it didn't help me. And then I stopped somewhere. I took a bottle of Sprite.
Yeah.
It was like a cold Sprite, something that has, a lot of soda in it.
Yeah.
I had that, I think, because of sugar and soda and everything. It helped me a little, but I'm pretty sure that that's not the only thing that helps you.
Yeah.
So what exactly happens when, what are the emotions and what are the neuroscience behind it that panic attack happens?
So when we're talking of anxiety, remember I told you about the exam anxiety, when you're stepping in for an important interview or when you're stepping into something important in your life, you feel a certain level of palpitations and you're breathing a little faster and you're sweaty. Now multiply that by 1,000 and with the feeling that, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I can't breathe, I'm going to die. Oh my God, what is happening? And not knowing that it is a panic attack. It is a fight, fright, flight response system. It's alarm system for the body, right? It's the alarm system for the body. So when we are saying that it is that serious, imagine the distress that it causes to the mind. Now, I would want everybody of the age group of 20 to 50 to know how to handle a panic attack, because you're very likely to have one during your lifetime. Very likely. You're going to listen to something stressful and probably the alarm system in your body is going to go off and you're going to feel stressed out. So one thing that you did was, have something cold and sweet. So we say that when you involve your 5 senses, so it's a grounding technique. You involve your senses and then you find out, basically it kind of shuts the alarm system that, you're safe. You're safe. So one sense is the taste. You sip something cold and sweet and take a deep breath, which you did. Then you see 5 things, right? 5 things around you. So now supposedly I'm in this room and I'm having a panic attack. I'm going to involve all of my senses. So see 5 things in the room. Speak out those 5 things. you start talking, you hear those 5 things, and then you remind yourself, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm safe. And then if that also doesn't work, then there is a grounding breathing technique where you track your fingers up and down and take 5 deep breaths where you fill in the vessel and then empty the vessel, deep breaths. And if that also doesn't work, then there's a third step that we say vagus nerve stimulation, where you take up your knuckles and basically against your chest, you rub them clockwise and anti-clockwise.
Okay.
So I think these are techniques which are very handy. We usually give them in therapy sessions, but I believe everybody is living a stressful life these days. So we should ratta hona chahiye in hacks ka, that if ever in life somebody near to us is having a panic attack, or if I am having a panic attack, I should know that these are 3-4 things that can get me out of it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that should be in the course of our studies. Like
School, I think. Jitni financial education is important, it's equally important to manage your emotions.
and we're not even getting financial education as well.
I believe that is going to be added in the curriculum. In
I think so,
CBSE.
and I hope so.
Yeah.
So the next thing that I wanted to ask is that, do you think meditation or spirituality helps you with depression? Because when I was going through this phase, that is the only thing that helped me.
Yeah.
Because I was lucky that I met someone. He was a doctor, and I just went for a regular checkup. And we kind of bonded a lot. And then I used to go every week to talk to him about what I am feeling, what I am going through. And he was like the number one support system for me.
Yeah.
And it was like a therapy for me, because I could vent out the entire emotions that I have for the week to that person. And he used to tell me that you write down whatever questions that you have for the entire week, and you come to me one day and then you give me all the questions, and I'll answer all of them.
How nice is that?
Yeah, and I was not even paying him for that. So that was something that was really impressive, and that is why we shared such a deep bond now. Like, I meet him every week, and then we have a word. He'll probably come on the podcast as well one day. But he taught me that meditation and spirituality is something that can heal you for life.
Absolutely.
That is something that can change your character, and then in future when you come in relationship with someone, it won't be a problem, because you are healed and you are a new person. It's a new bond.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
So, we say that 3 things are extremely important: mindfulness, meditation, and spirituality. And when we talk of mindfulness, basically if you practice meditation on a daily basis, you're living in mindfulness. That is what meditation also teaches you. And you said something very beautiful, that it builds integrity in you. And I believe that meditation keeps you grounded. The purpose of it is to have control over your mind, because we live in a very, very noisy world. There's constant stimulus from everywhere, and people have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. There's family, there's friends, other things happening in the society, good and bad things, at work, and there are some financial pressures that we need to meet. Sometimes you're meeting them, sometimes you're not meeting them, and in the middle of it there is so much going on as well. But I think meditation is that time that you have for yourself, where you know what do you want to be in life, who do you want to be in life, more than what, who do you want to be in life, and it builds integrity to a level that you would do the right thing. And I remember Oprah Winfrey saying something very, very beautiful in one of her lectures, that it is important to do the right thing. Yes, it is. But it is even more important to do the right thing when nobody else is looking.
Yeah, that's so
And
nice.
I think that integrity comes with spirituality and meditation. Because you know the real meaning of truth. My truth is not what you see or what you hear. Not even in this podcast, right? Your truth is not what everybody sees or hears. Your truth is what you live by.
Yeah.
What you wake up with and what you sleep with, and how honest you are in everything that you do. And bringing meditation into everything that we do in life is mindfulness.
Yeah.
And I don't think there is a greater healing than spirituality. Because it roots you to the core. It tells you who you are. And when you're spiritual, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong.
As I said, someone is there always just looking at you and helping you out.
Absolutely. And I remember just yesterday I had a young man with a very young daughter come to me, and he turned out to be wheat allergic. He's
Okay.
39 years old, and he's in his entire life he's had wheat. And he turned out to be wheat allergic. And he was really, really distressed with it. So wheat allergy was one aspect. He's a known case of anxiety. And he shut his shop. He came rushing. He got all of the tests done. And he came to me with a bundle of reports. And before looking at the reports, I asked him if he prays. You know, are you spiritual? And the easiest way to ask, I think, is, do you pray?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, but I'm unable to focus since the past 2-3 days. And I told him that if you pray, who do you believe in? He said, God. So I said, do you think God is doing a good enough job to run this world? Because he kept on asking, why has God done? Why has he done it? Why has he done it? Why has he done it? So I asked him if, God is doing his job well. So he said he's doing his job very well. So I said, why are you worrying about his job? And I think something switched in him at that moment, and he realized that he really doesn't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
And wheat allergy is not that big a thing. A lot of people are allergic to a lot of things. And then he himself said that, at least I've enjoyed kulchas for 35 years of my life.
Yeah.
And imagine people being born with wheat allergy. So I said, don't worry about his job.
Yeah.
You just pray and let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think when I was in that phase, I found my guru, and I was constantly listening to his lecture. Like in the car, I was listening to the lectures. When I woke up, I used to listen to his lectures. While eating, I used to listen to his lecture, and while going to sleep, I used to listen to all the lectures.
Yeah.
And that kind of healed me so much, because my perception was that why God is doing all these things with me. And especially me being spiritual at such a young age, I started doing it in 2009.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I was like, why me? But later I realized that it was my mistake only. It was the karmas that I've built for myself. It's coming back to me.
Yeah.
And what my guru taught me that is, God doesn't do anything bad with you. He's neutral to everyone. It's your karma that you are doing, and that is coming back to you.
Right.
And then you are disturbed that why God is doing that to you. So it was a shift in, as you said, that was a shifting point in me that, okay, something is not right with what I'm thinking. Yeah. And it was beautifully explained in Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. So as I told you that I'm reading that book, in that book is that what you want to be is the most important thing. It's okay to have a to-do list that this what you want to do, but it is beautifully explained that people are not known. You might remember someone by what they are doing, but someone is imprinted in your heart by the character and what exactly that person is. So it's important to achieve heights, and it's important to, reach at that point, but it's very important to sit with yourself every day and realize that there is a beautiful world inside us, and figure that out, and then work on yourself. That I think that is the most important thing for an individual to do.
Absolutely. And all of this again comes back to that integrity. It's like a circle.
Yeah.
It's like a circle. If you build integrity, then you wouldn't do a bad karma. I wouldn't say it a bad karma or a good karma. You wouldn't do something that comes and bites you back.
Yeah, true.
Right? Because you are truthful in and out. Right? So if you're truthful, you wouldn't do something that harms anybody, not even yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
You would love yourself and the others.
Yeah, that's true.
And do the right thing, always. So it'll come back, and then you will be even more spiritual. So I think working on yourself is the most important thing, because I remember how everybody makes me feel. If I go to an ice cream store and if I order 1 scoop of ice cream, if that fellow gives me 2 scoops, 1 scoop for free, I'm going to remember how he made me feel. It's not about the ice cream. It's about the feeling that he gave me with something extra sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the same ice cream shop again, because that person made me feel good. And it doesn't always have to be in the broader spectrum of life. You don't have to make big gestures. You just have to be honest and mindful of everything that you're making the other person feel every day.
Yeah, true. I read it somewhere last year that, how can you be saved by the karma? the only way that you can be saved, not the only way, one of the ways is that your karma comes and you can be saved by the karma is how you react to that situation. So if you react in a positive way, then you are not basically going through that karma.
Yeah.
But if you react it, it's exactly what that karma is coming to do to you.
Right.
So that was beautifully explained on how you can be saved of what is coming to you.
Yeah.
It's the way you react. So we probably towards the last part of it, and this podcast is mainly for the youngsters out there,
Right.
who are going through mental health, who are ill,
Yeah.
but they probably don't know it yet. So what is the suggestion to the youth out there that you want to give, because you dealt with so much youth? So what is it that you want to tell them so that they can live a better life?
One thing is that you should never shy away from working on yourself. And if you feel that, I might need help, there cannot be a better indication than that. If you are searching out on Google, psychiatrist near me, or online psychiatrist, or therapist online, that means you need help.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that, it's a very, very long life. And it's okay to make some mistakes. And it's also okay if they come and bite you back. But you need to work on yourself to heal yourself from all of those things that have happened in the past. And anything related to mental health does not make you weak.
Yeah.
ऐसा नहीं है that if you feel more you're weak. Depression सिर्फ उनको होता है जो mentally strong नहीं होते. Because if we do not deal with these things when they are at a micro level, they are going to harm your life at a macro level. And harm everybody else's life around you as well. So mental health has got nothing related to strength. I have not gone to the gym and seen anybody working their brains out.
Yeah.
Not possible. Brain is not made of muscle. It's not about strength. It's about a balance. Just like yoga, just like Pilates. It's about balance. And that mind-body balance is created. If we go to the gym to work on our bodies, what is the harm to go to somebody who's a professional, who has studied it and is going to apply it to work on your brain? Yeah.
And I think if this is at the right stage and right path, everything falls into place.
Absolutely. Life becomes beautiful if this is the right path, and it becomes ugly even on the best days.
Yes.
You're not mentally stable.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's just one last question that's coming on the top of my head. We can probably end this conversation after that. We've seen people after the breakups or divorce.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of divorce cases. I've personally seen a couple in last year of a very close relatives. We've seen people after that going in that trauma state where they cut themselves and where they go in this phase of hurting themselves. I'm not sure what they go through at that point of time in their head, but we've seen people doing that.
Yeah.
So have you seen that case, like you've dealt with those cases?
Absolutely. The latest research that said, now we're not talking about suicide over here, we're talking about self-harm.
Yeah.
Intentional self-harm, where we see a lot of people with scars on their forearms, a lot of young girls with scars on their thighs and their stomach. So there's an extreme rush of emotion. The science behind it is that there's an extreme rush of emotions and they're unable to control that, extreme anxiety, unable to manage that thought and that emotion. And the behavior that they choose is to harm themselves, to cut. Not in the anticipation. A lot of people feel that they are acting weird to get attention. But the real reason is that they are so helpless that they need to cut, they're breaking the sanctity of their body. So imagine how much distress they are in. So they cut themselves, and the little ooze of blood, it kind of dampens their anxiety, because that puts the alarm system switch off. All of that can be dealt with, in the mental space itself, but they're not acting. And, it's not just girls. The last research says only in the North Indian part of India, 13.1% adolescent boys have committed to self-harm. And it's a huge number. So out of every 100 young boy that you're meeting, 14 of them have at one point or the other indulged in self-harm.
That's too much.
Absolutely. And the number of the girls is way higher.
Oh, is it?
Absolutely. It's way higher. Because ek to वैसे we grow up in an environment, where emotional outburst is okay for a girl. But it's not okay for a boy. And imagine in such a stigmatized society, 14% of boys are harming themselves. Imagine the distress. Yeah.
That's so nice. That's actually not nice. That's so
But just
disturbing.
knowing that and knowing that it can be overcome,
Yeah.
knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowledge that heals.
Absolutely.
And I think
Yeah.
probably everyone should know that it is curable. It's something that can be, you can take help from other people and then can help yourself. It's not the end of the world.
Absolutely. I wish more people knew that it's not the end of the world.
I mean, what else can go wrong? You're already in a wrong position.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one more question, just
Yeah.
last, probably towards the last of it. So next question to you is that people don't talk about men's mental health. And
Yeah.
I think that is something that is really important because that is how we've been taught
Yeah.
that men don't cry or men don't feel
मर्द
emotion.
को दर्द नहीं होता.
And trust me, the amount of emotions that that men goes through is immense. It's just that they don't like to share it with them.
Because we have been raised in an environment where men were probably not allowed to, or they were not encouraged to share too much. So, but men and women are biologically different on other aspects. You know, the brain is absolutely the same. It's made of the same neurons, it's made of the same chemicals. So, the exact things that a female feels, a man also feels. While the female is still allowed to say that, she might be still looked down upon,
Yeah.
but she's allowed to say that. She's allowed to cry. A man is not allowed to cry because if a man is crying, it's a huge thing in a lot of households, even in today's date. So I think normalizing talking about your emotions right when your siblings, people in your family, the boys in your family are young, it is extremely important. You know, for them to come home and say, I feel sad today. And for you to ask, why is it that you're feeling sad today? It's extremely important because outside of the barriers of their home, they will still be dealing with that society. But at least inside, they will be reassured that it is okay to share your emotions. And now you have been in so many relationships. You only tell me, do women appreciate men who know their emotions well or not?
Some of them.
Good women do. Yeah. Good women do because you are in touch with yourself and you will be in touch with the other person's emotions as well.
Yeah.
So knowing that is extremely important.
Yeah, that's true. That's so nice. I think it's very important, as you said, to if you acknowledge your emotions, you should acknowledge the other person's emotions as well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes you just acknowledge your emotions and you don't acknowledge the other person's emotions. And I think the best blessing that I got out of breakup was that I got the difference between being lonely and alone. Earlier I was alone and sad. And I realized that I was in that lonely phase.
Yeah.
But now I'm alone and I'm happy. I'm content with myself and I know what I want to do in life.
Right.
So I think people need to have that difference of being lonely and being alone.
True.
And people have to be okay with staying alone with themselves, knowing what they can do in that time.
Absolutely. Even in a relationship.
Yeah.
You should know if you're not happy when you're alone, your happiness is dependent on the other person.
Yeah.
And then again, it's just draining energy.
Yeah,
On
that's
some
true.
days, it's okay because you come back home and it's a to and fro flow of energy between two people. But if you're not happy yourself, how do you expect that the other person is going to stay happy with you? And knowing yourself and maintaining your individuality makes a relationship beautiful because it's two people working as one unit with so many positive aspects of their personality.
And I think you drain the other person when you just are dependent on the other person.
Absolutely.
I've been in that thing and I feel that, okay, I might have drained the other person. And then I realized that I need some time on what I need to do and what I not. I think there's one book, Mindset, which I started reading, and in the beginning of the book, it explains that there are two kind of people, one with the fixed mindset and one with the growth mindset.
Yeah.
And they've beautifully explained on what is the difference between two. The fixed mindset have a fixed kind of scenarios in his or her head that this is how it should be. And if that doesn't happen, then they go in that zone that everything is wrong with me, I am wrong and everything around me is wrong. And a growth mindset person, it was very beautiful example given by him that a person with a growth mindset might have dealt with tens, pocket tens, but he has to make the other person believe that he has a pocket aces in his hand.
Yeah.
So that was really beautiful thing that I got out of this book, and I think that is it. It was a really beautiful conversation with you.
It indeed was.
Yeah, and I had a lot of questions because I've gone through this. So probably this was my first official therapy session. And thank you so much for coming. I'm sure that whoever.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing having this conversation with
Thank you.
today.
Thank you so much.